Israeli army released video showing that it said was a tank attack on the building that Hamas chief Yahya Sinwar was allegedly in. Now, Sinwar was killed in a gunfight with Israeli forces after a year-long manhunt. The army released another video where an Israeli mini-drone tracked Sinwar as he lay dying in the ruins of a building in southern Gaza and filmed him slumped in a chair covered in dust. Now, as the drone hovered nearby, the video showed him throwing a stick on it in an apparent act of desperation and defiance. Not long afterwards, the military said a tank shell was fired into the building. This is, in fact, the moment when the tank shell was fired at that building, and this was the last shot that was fired against Yahya Sinwar by the Israeli military. The Brigade 828 tank was, in fact, used to fire at this particular building in which Sinwar was located. This was the last attack after the drone video was given to the military intelligence, and after that they took the decision to immediately eliminate Sinwar. Israel has intensified military ops in Gaza. Can it build a buffer zone? Listen in for more.
Is there a chance for a ceasefire, or are we going to witness a more intense military action before there's a new president in the United States of America, sir?
We are talking about three different fronts, so it's a good question. On two of the fronts, I think Israel has delivered a major blow, which makes the chance for a ceasefire higher. I remind your viewers that for a Gaza war to be over, what Israel demands is the hostages. We still have more than 100 hostages held for over a year already in the tunnels of Hamas. And if they are returned safely and Hamas lays down its arm, Israel has also promised safe passage for those who do give in hostages that they are holding. And I think that is this chance of finishing the fighting on that front. In Lebanon, again, right now, Israel is still finding more and more weapons, hiding places that were planned for attacking Israel, and Israel is clearing up that area. But I think that if a serious offer is on the table from the Hezbollah, who's also been dealt a major blow, I think that's something that can be discussed, going back to something along 1701, but this time being enforced. The third front with Iran, Israel has vowed to strike back, and we still have to wait and see how that pans out.
Do you feel that Israel has been able to meet its strategic objectives in Gaza after eliminating Sinwar?
No, you cannot say that. Israel, to begin with, had a few goals in the Gaza offensive. One was to dismantle Hamas as a fighting organization. That is mostly done. I think that we can safely say that about 80% of Hamas military capacity has been dealt a severe blow. It's no longer acting as an army, but still Hamas has strong control in Gaza, and that cannot be. So that's one goal that has not been met, even though big steps have been made towards it. The other goal was bringing back the hostages. And again, here we still have more than 100 hostages held captive. And until they are not home, we cannot say that we've met our goals in Gaza.
There was an article in Economist today, and they were making a point. It was a lead article in the Economist, and the point was that the entire leadership of the Hamas has been destroyed, and the death of Sinwar is a big blow to Hamas. But then their forces, the military forces, have gone into the guerrilla mode, in the sense that they have melted into the population. It is like when debathification was done by Americans in Iraq, they all melted into the population, and it led to creation of ISIS. So then how does Israel deal with Hamas commandos going into the guerrilla mode? Because it's obvious that Israel has not been able to neutralize each and every Hamas military personnel. It's very evident.
That is true, and that is one of the big problems when fighting guerrilla organizations. We know for a fact that Hamas has been hiding behind civilians and regrouping even in civilian shelters. One of the ideas about Sinwar's movements was actually trying to get to a civilian shelter that where he was obviously en route to when he was killed, and that is a big problem. And again, the only way to fight it is one, blocking off all possible supplies. If there's no weapons coming in from the Philadelphia corridor, from the Egyptian border, if there's no money coming in for terrorism, in the end, you can dry it up. You can never dry it up completely. Remember, Hamas is part of the Muslim Brotherhood. It's an organization that's designated as a terrorist organization in many countries around the world and still active and still has people who follow its ideology and are bent on killing civilians and demolishing the West and Israel as the proxy of the West, let's call it. And therefore, you're right, you cannot get to each and every Hamas fighter, but you can certainly diminish the capacity of Hamas to act as an organized terrorist organization and turn it more into an issue of singles or small cells acting, and then it's a matter of intelligence. And then the big question is, who will control the area with boots on the ground in the day after?
But then, Itai, is it possible to shield Israeli citizens from the fragile border? Even if you have mowed the lawn, if I have to use the military term, even if you have mowed the lawn, is it possible to shield your citizens without any political solution from that southern border or the northern border?
So even with a political solution, which is what will happen in the end, you still cannot seal it, because we always know that there is a lot of money and a lot of ideology behind these organizations. So they will always keep trying. Just today, we had a terror attack from our longest and most quiet border with Jordan, of a couple of terrorists that infiltrated in southern Israel from the Jordan border. And again, totally sealing off and walls, we know, are never the solution. So in the end, it's a combination of, yes, political solutions and agreements. Then, for example, in the north, having UNIFIL really fulfill its mandate and stop terrorists from, again, amassing on Israel's northern border. And like mowing the lawn, as you said, that's something that never ends. Unless you've got a synthetic lawn, you will have to keep mowing it once in a while. Keep an open eye, not be afraid to act when you see that there is an accumulation of activity on the other side of the border. And the world must also understand that this is something that they need to support.